This is a Hustler Super Z mid-mount zero-turn riding mower. I bought this from a guy for $600 because he said the engine seized up while he was using it. I think this has a 25 horsepower Kohler Command Pro, or something like that. Let's see what's up with it. So when you turn the key on, some kind of cooling fan over here starts up, and then when you turn it to start, it kind of drags down a little bit, so it may be seized up and the starter may not be able to turn. Let's see if there's any oil in it. Yeah, there's a tiny bit just over the add line. I have a breaker bar and a socket on the crank bolt up under here, and the engine doesn't feel seized. It was a little bit stuck, and I just jerked on it and it's spinning. Let's try the starter again. Well, it's definitely not seized up. Let me try putting some gas in it. Hopefully you can see there, it's running, but it's running really bad. It's got no power, it's smoking like crazy, and it's got a really slow throttle response. So something's definitely wrong. I'm not exactly sure what yet. Upon further review, I have decided that this engine has major mechanical problems and really needs to be rebuilt before it can be used. But instead of doing that, let's just swap it out for this used engine I just got. Don't forget to unhook the battery first. I was confused because the engine I took off only has 3 wires going to the harness connector, and this engine has like 5. So I took the shrouds off to see what I could see. This one's got like a totally normal ignition system, just 2 regular coils. This one kind of threw me for a loop because it's got 2 wires on each coil. And I looked in the service manual, and apparently this is something Kohler calls Smart Spark, and it's a system that provides variable ignition timing. So it's got 2 extra wires and then a bunch of other stuff, and it all runs into this mysterious black box on the side of the cowling here. I don't want to use that because, well, one, because it's pointless. This engine is designed to run at a constant RPM, so why would you need variable ignition timing? And 2, I don't know if it's working right, so I don't want that to be a source of problems. So I'm just going to cut this connector off and splice it into these wires with some butt connectors. But it's really simple. It's just green goes to the oil pressure sending unit, white grounds the coils to cut spark, and red goes to the fuel shutoff solenoid. And it's actually exactly the same on this harness, except it has an extra red wire that goes to nothing, and this purple wire is positive voltage from the rectifier. On this engine, the purple wire comes from the rectifier and comes around and is bolted on right here at the starter to connect to the positive battery cable. Now, if you want to be really professional, you can actually just go buy one of these. This is a Delphi weather pack connector. You can get it and the crimping tool you need to put it on, but I don't have one, so I'm just gonna cut it and splice it. I've got the engines back together. It's almost ready to go back in, but this exhaust needs attention. I had every intention of ignoring this, but let's just go ahead and fix it while it's out and easy to get to. So what I ended up doing is I found a piece of, I think, 1.5 inches or maybe 1.25 inches galvanized like plumbing pipe, and I actually bored about half the wall thickness out on the lathe to where it will just slip over this inlet on the muffler. And then I just smashed one end of it in the vise to kind of try to match up with this oval shape on the exhaust manifold here. What I'm going to do is actually bolt the engine and exhaust in and get everything lined up and set where it needs to be, and then just tack weld it together and then take it back apart and weld it solid. everything hooked up, put back together. I used the throttle linkage from the new motor. I just left it on there because it looked simpler and I liked it better. Splicing that connector in went great. I just crimped on some butt splices and put some heat shrink tube over it. Now I'm going to try to fix the seat that has broken off. I can see where someone else has already been trying to fix it. So let's see if we can do any better. I took the pads off of the seat because I couldn't figure out how it was supposed to mount originally. So hopefully you can see the seat pan itself rides in this track on the kind of where the backrest would be, and it goes up and down. It's got these little rollers that it slides in, and these two big springs support the weight, and then it's got this shock absorber to dampen it. So in order to mount this seat in a way that the suspension will work, you actually have to mount it from this piece on the back, not the pan itself. And this part was attached under here somehow, but it's been busted off and re-welded, and I don't even know how it is supposed to fit on there exactly. I think it might be missing a piece. But I've got a couple pieces of channel iron here, and my plan is to just build a mount for it, kind of like that. It took quite a bit of cutting and grinding and adjusting and fiddling with it, but I think I finally got this to where it needs to be. Notching this channel out was a huge pain in the butt. I shouldn't have bothered with that. I should have just cut it at an angle and welded it on there, but I think it's done now. So got a couple holes drilled in it to match up with some holes on the seat back. So I think all I need to do now is weld it together. It's not perfect, but it will definitely work for my purposes. Just made some cross pieces here. I think this is actually a rail from a bed frame, but I just cut it up and drilled some holes in it. I think I've got everything lined up where I want it, so I'm going to weld this in. low oil pressure light was on while it was running just now, so I swapped the sensor out from the one from the old engine. Let's see if that was the problem. I'm confident this engine has oil pressure. I'm going to try to yank some of the dents out of this bumper here because it's kind of annoying me that it's smashed up against the muffler. I don't think it's supposed to be like that. Well, that's better than it was anyway. I'm going to call that a resounding success. There's still plenty of other minor things that need to be addressed, like all these deck wheels that are falling off. This tire doesn't want to hold air for some reason. Just little stuff like that, but I'm very pleased with that. Thanks for watching.